and take a vagabond dream of vagabond.
Hi, this is Lisa. I'm Mark. We're the Vagabond Dreamers. We're standing here in Scorching Dubai. Temperature today is supposed to be 103. What a culture shock from having just spent 3 weeks in the Seychelles, the last week on the island of Praslin. Our expectations going in is that it was going to be somewhere between the little island of Digue and the big island of Mahe, and I think that's probably what happened.
Pretty much nailed it. It exactly, for me, was exactly that. Wasn't as rushed as Mahe, wasn't as quiet and chill as Digue, and there was still plenty to do.
The thing it didn't have was any real notable history. I mean, every place has history, but on Praslin they're making no effort to preserve it or restore it. There's one abandoned cinnamon plantation with not much to see. There's a museum, but the museum is how to grind coconuts. One little excerpt I found online about this being the spot where the kings of Aden were exiled after the British took over there back in the early part of the 20th century. But so no history lesson today, guys. Sorry, I know your heart is broken. What about the beaches?
You know, the beaches were because
mixed.
It was mixed, but also there weren't as many. Probably more than Digue, but not as beautiful as all of the Digue beaches, and definitely not as many as the 50 to 60 beaches on Mahe. But we did find some incredible beaches. So
we're going to save the best for last, but tell us about a couple of the other ones.
So the first day there, we couldn't check into our villa, so we just started to take a drive and get acclimated to where we were. And we went to Cote d'Or, which is the longest stretch of white sand beach on Praslin. Very hard white sand. It's also the site of the bent coconut tree. No, bent palm tree. Coconut palm, kind of the same difference. Which was a little disappointing because they actually have to prop it up now. So kind of, I get it, and they're trying to keep it upright, which is great. But
we don't have any pictures of it. Why?
No, but because people were over there draping their towels on it, and I thought, well, this is really anticlimactic. So the bent palm was there, and it was beautiful, and the beach was beautiful.
And you found a friend.
We did. So took a swim, and it was quite a warm, very shallow, kind of mushy sand in places. But as we're cooling off, I saw a shadow, and I thought, well, there was seaweed. So the shadow, as I got closer, and actually never got closer because the shadow moved, and realized quickly it was a sea turtle. So we actually were swimming within 10 feet of this lovely turtle. He then disappeared. Mark and I swam a little more, and we found another turtle. So that was like a really fun joy on the very first day of Praslin.
On the other side of the beach, we went over to Grand Anse with high expectations. Found probably the best food on the island,
yeah.
Leo's. But other than that, kind of a disappointing beach, I think, in some ways.
I think primarily, and maybe the theory is that we'd had a rain the night before, and some of the runoff coming out of the rainforest turned the edges of the beach very brown, which, you know, then the turquoise beach is no longer turquoise, it's rust colored in the front. So it just didn't look appealing, but it was a long, long stretch of white sand rimmed with palm trees and takamaka trees, which I now know what they are, which is very cool.
Luckily, though, we found our favorite beach in all of the Seychelles on Anse Lazio, which is a pretty remote part of the island. But what a find.
Absolutely, and you know, the more I read about beaches, they really ranked Anse Lazio and Anse Georgette up there high with Source d'Argent, and I absolutely know why now. It's my favorite beach of all of the Seychelles that we visited. Of the 3 islands, it was my favorite beach, and we spent at least 2 days there and enjoyed. It was incredible.
Great swimming water, wonderful views, but made even better by our 2 friends we met.
Jude and Carlo. They set us up with some beach chairs. You know, Mark and I like remote beaches, but the remote part, you can't spend the whole day there, especially when you're traveling like we are. We don't have a big cooler. So Jude and Carlo set us up with beach chairs, and they just were so fun to talk to. We learned a little bit about them, and they were just entertaining and friendly and just treated us like royalty, which they didn't need to. But
that's great. Yeah, I mean, it would learn a little bit about the young people on the Seychelles. And either you're going to head over to Mahé for free college, or like almost all of them, you're going to be like Jude and Carlo, starting at age 14, working with the tourists and trying to scratch out a living for your family.
yeah.
But they were great. Lisa's now friends with them on Instagram or something.
Yep.
And then it's also the site of our biggest failure on the trip.
I wouldn't call it a failure. 3 weeks on the Seychelles, yeah, actually I would call it a failure, because a hike that doesn't get to the end is it's a failed hike, but it was still gorgeous. So this was our last official full day on the island and on all of the Seychelles. And there's a hike you can take from Lazio to Georgette, the other amazing beach. Now, Anse Georgette doesn't have facilities, so you have to pack your stuff with you. So Mark and I set off on what I thought was going to be just a 3-kilometer hike, and it was much more difficult than those 3 kilometers, because first it was longer than 3 kilometers, but also we were exhausted.
It was very hot.
We've just realized it really isn't the heat. It's the humidity. It will get you. We were just soaked. We got lost a couple times. The trail was marked, but not perfectly. We went through swamp. And it was a fun hike, but we got to the biggest viewpoint where we could see Anse Lazio, and both of us looked at each other and said, we're done. We're going to go back and lie on the beach. And
It's also true Lisa's probably the only person that says hiking through mud is fun.
This was a hot one. Just taking a cool down.
What's that?
Taking a video. Dunk her head, buddy. Dunk your head. Nothing like a mountain stream. Yeehaw. Yeehaw.
Moving on, we did actually have a good hike in Fond Ferdinand, the national park.
There's 2 national parks on Praslin. One is Fond Ferdinand, and one is Coco de Mer, which is a bigger area, but it's much more visited by people. Fond Ferdinand was a quarter of a mile from our place, so we could walk there, which I did on the way back, and it was a beautiful hike. Vistas were gorgeous, and we learned a lot about the Coco de Mer, which is the most unique and very, it's endemic to Praslin specifically, and Digue. It's only been found there originally, and it's the largest coconut in the world, and it looks very strange.
They want you to make jewelry. They
make beautiful jewelry out of it, but to me it looks like a butt. And I wasn't gonna buy. I wanted Seychelles jewelry, and I didn't come home with it, and that's okay, because the memories I have are amazing. But I wasn't gonna wear a butt on my ears, around my neck. But I did have a good giggle there. So.
Well, prior to this, the entire trip, we each decided we would buy a secret excursion for the other person. My excursion got canceled in Turkey because of weather, but Lisa's gift to me we were able to do, which was a 7-hour private tour of the outer islands around Praslin, and this was a day really well spent.
And we almost missed it. So sometimes you wake up on a trip like this, or any trip, and you wonder what day it is. And we were halfway into a bizarre hike that we had planned, and actually I'm glad that it got derailed, because we heard that it really was unsafe. So we got WhatsApped by a couple of people that said, hey, your guide's waiting for you, and we were 10 minutes away, thank goodness, but we missed an hour of that. However, Dwayne made up for it. He was our 22-year-old tour guide, who was fabulous. We hopped on the boat and we hit multiple islands. We snorkeled, we went to Curios and saw tortoises. I'm gonna stop because there was so much.
Well, I mean, Dwayne was really interesting, really helpful. He's more than a guide, he was the skipper of the boat. And from him I learned a lot about what maybe our country could be doing with its young people. He was paid to go to college on Mahé for 2 years to learn how to skipper boats and to conduct tours. And so they put him up in a hostel, they fed him, they trained him, and at 22 he's got basically his own boat, and he works for a company, but he skippers is 7 days a week, and is so knowledgeable and so kind and really skilled skipper. I mean, really amazing.
Very much so.
We got to do a big hike there, and it started out dreadful.
It was a little hike, but it was great.
We started out dreadful. We were behind a tour group of about 30 people, carrying babies.
My watch literally said, "Do you want to stop?" because it thought I'd stopped. We were going so slow.
But we played ugly American, and we cut our way through the entire crowd, got some dirty looks, but got out ahead of them and actually beat them to the final destination by about a half an hour.
At least a half an hour.
Which is crazy, because it wasn't that far. But we saw incredible beds of snails, which we thought were all dead, but they weren't. But hundreds of thousands of snails along this path.
In a mangrove.
Right, it was really something. But the payoff at the end was the tortoises. So we come down the hill and look what we see.
Oh, the breeze is awesome.
Breeze is awesome, but so are the tortoises.
What?
The tortoises.
Oh, I didn't see them. It's like the Duomo.
And they were great.
So this is Curious Island, and they have the tortoise preserve. So they take care of them, protect them, and they educate people about them, and they are so fascinating. We met a turtle that was 130 years old.
Met one without a leg.
And one with, pirate.
He had been attacked as a baby and
by a crab.
Lost his left front leg, but still now is doing great. Yeah. But my favorite part, I think, of the entire journey was because of who I am. We're visiting the private islands. Like, there are people that have bought or they lease islands.
Yeah, you can't buy them outright.
But you lease these islands. But the best part is the beaches have to stay public. So they put up fences and drones and cameras all over to protect the land. But we could go on their beach, and that just was so satisfying. And they're just, you can understand why someone leased it. They are just pristine, beautiful, gorgeous islands. Lisa got to snorkel around some of them. It was a fabulous day, and we'll always be grateful to Dwayne Savvy for pulling it off. Yeah. So we got to the last day, and we didn't know what to do because our flight was...
Yeah, so our flight was...
Late in the day.
And we had an overnight flight that night. So we knew our last day was going to be incredibly difficult. We're not young. Overnight flights, he's not young. Overnight flights are hard. And we had to be out of our villa by 10 a.m. So the day was kind of ominous. We didn't want to waste it, but we also didn't want to get on the plane full of sand and exhausted. So
Lisa suggested we go to breakfast because the place we wanted to go to breakfast was somehow closed. And we found this eco resort that we were actually going to go to for this hike the other day that we didn't go on hike. Anyway, and we went in, I talked to Amit, the manager of it, explained our situation. He said, as long as you buy lunch, you can stay all day.
They had a pool, it's right on the water, and it was just absolutely lovely. We got to see 2 rays out in the water as we were just sitting there kind of soaking up the sun.
But like everything else that we did, it was made better by the people that were there.
Yeah.
Amit was awesome, and Magesh was awesome. He served us, he's the bartender, he's the waiter, took care of us the whole day. Hi, because I know you're subscribing to our channel now.
Right, they are.
And so we're really happy there, and we'll put a link to their place in the description, along with a link to Dwayne's excursion as well. If you're ever in the Seychelles, check those out. All right, so overall, give us 30 seconds on the Seychelles.
It was a bucket list trip for us. We planned going here. I didn't know if we'd be able to make it a reality, and I'm so thankful we did. The beaches were fabulous, the people were fabulous. We're not vacationers to eat. So that really was not a
Became
big
more
deal.
of a running joke.
Yeah.
Every island and every place we've been to, in the back of our minds is always, could we live here? And that, we've been open about this, is that we're really looking at options if things continue to decline in the U.S. But this wouldn't be a place.
Well, it couldn't be a place. We wouldn't be able to afford to live here. And I think the other thing that I keep in mind is, can I get my family here to visit? And can I get home to visit?
Right.
And it's just too long of a trip.
Super remote.
Super expensive.
But everything and more that we expected in terms of the beauty and the people, and just, those 3 weeks to me were extraordinary decompression. Just really, really worth it. But leaving, I think we both know it, probably be the last time we'll ever go.
Yeah, and that's sad, but I'm very thankful that we were able to come.
Hope you enjoyed this series on the Seychelles. We'll see you from Dubai.
So it's our last day on Praslin and our last day in the Seychelles. It has been a beautiful little island and a nice blend between our lovely little Digue and our big Mahe.
We found our favorite beach in all the Seychelles here, Lazio. I got to swim in the Indian Ocean for 22 straight days, a new world record for swimming in any ocean. And true to form here in the Seychelles, the food on Praslin, not so great. Last night's pizza, I think the sauce was Campbell's cream of tomato soup. But it was a fabulous trip and a great time here on the Seychelles. I'm really going to miss it.
We're getting ready for our overnight flight tonight to Dubai, and as much as I'm looking forward to our continued adventures, I think we have 20 countries left, I am very, very sad to leave.
Going to be a culture shock, I think. What are you going to do?
I'm going to shop.
I'm Mark. This is Lisa. We're the Vagabond Dreamers.
Take a vagabond, dream of a vagabond fool. I ain't too proud to beg, but I'm playing it cool. I can do the time, I can do the walk when I'm walking with